Hi, this is Amy.
And Melissa. We are a couple of retired Texas teachers who are CALTs, Certified Academic Language Therapists. We started our own businesses, and now we have a podcast called The Dyslexia Duo.
So join us for our informative podcast, where we'll delve into dyslexia, covering the topics that affect parents, therapists, teachers, practitioners, and anyone who wants to learn more. We'll guide you through everything you need to know, from the first signs to the intricacies of dyslexia curriculum placement and beyond.
This season, we will cover the referral process, what to expect when your child or student is dyslexic, the generational impacts of dyslexia, and how to support those affected.
Come join us. Hi, this is Amy.
And Melissa.
And we're the
Dyslexia Duo.
So today we have my very, very good friend, Carolyn, and her daughter, Caitlin, and her daughter, Leah, to talk about dyslexia. And we all know that dyslexia runs in families, and the degree and the severity and what it impacts can vary from person to person in the family. So we're just going to kind of go through the family members and go ahead and introduce yourself so that our audience can kind of get used to your voice. So Carolyn, we'll start with you.
I'm Carolyn Price, and I'm from Garland, Texas.
I'm Caitlin Kropp, and I live in Rowlett, Texas.
I'm Leah Asher, and I live in Rowlett, Texas.
Awesome.
So you're here to discuss with us how dyslexia has affected you. We know that dyslexia is neurobiological, and obviously all three of you are affected in one way or another. So how old were you when you noticed that you were having difficulties with reading and or spelling? And anybody can take this first, or if we want to go around and take turns.
I would say probably first grade, when I was reading and others were reading better than I was, when, because they would call on you to read out loud, and could tell there was something. I was struggling. But by second grade, I really knew, because spelling was it was terrible. And we did this game in second grade, and I had been out sick or something and didn't know, and panicked because I didn't want to spell in front of people. And I was given this very simple spelling word, spelt it really wrong. And the teacher had something to say, the kids laughed. So it was first, second grade when I knew there was something not right.
Do you feel like that kind of compounded together, the reading and the spelling, all at one time in second grade?
Mm-hmm.
So Caitlin, tell us when you kind of realized that you were doing maybe things a little differently than your peers.
From when I remember, because at first I thought it was normal in like first, second grade, we're all learning to read and write, spelling. So I noticed I was kind of struggling, but I was like, I figured everyone else was, because we're young, first learning. So I would say I noticed a difference probably about third grade, when everyone caught on to it and could do it quicker and faster than I could. And I realized, okay, wait, I'm supposed to have it by now, but I don't. So I think it was about third grade, and I didn't say anything, didn't speak up, but I knew something was different for sure.
And Leah, so did you notice at any point that you were doing things maybe a little differently? Because I know you're a smart cookie, girlfriend. I've heard about it. I've heard how smart you are. And so you're probably thinking, why am I not doing things the same as my peers?
I would say like first grade too, because like I had difficulties with like spelling and stuff, and like reading.
Doing things maybe a little bit differently.
I knew my mother was dyslexic, but I never knew I was dyslexic. I knew I struggled, but I didn't know why. I think it was when I was 50 or so. you and I were having lunch and you told me, well, you know you're dyslexic, right? I went, no. And you had gone back and looked at some writings I had done.
We had
And you
those
said-
notes we used to pass to each other in high school.
Yeah.
And I thought you were just
Notes.
writing really fast. And like you misspelled the word. You said, I'm going to get my hair cut. And you put, I'm going to get my hair cute. And I thought, that's funny. You do get a hair cute. You know, I just thought you were being
Yes.
witty.
Right. And of course, nowadays we have autocorrect and spell check and all these things to help us. Back then we didn't. And I had no idea until, you had told me when I was older, and I went, that's when everything started to make sense, that I worked so hard and struggled just to be an average student. And here my sister over here is making straight A's and breezing through school. And, it's like, why can't I do that?
How did that manifest for you throughout your school career, though? You noticed in first grade you were having difficulties, but how did it continue to cause problems throughout your school career?
It took me longer to do homework. I struggled with reading. My dad would try to explain math problems to me, and it just felt like a foreign language, basically. It's like I couldn't wrap my head around it. But then as I got older, you find ways to compensate, I believe, and you figure out ways that work for you, like me writing things out continuously or writing it over and over and over again. Or, and I hate this now as an adult, that I hated reading. I hated reading until I can't remember what grade it was, 4th grade, 5th grade. I found a book. It was called Harriet the Spy.
Yeah. Fourth grade. Mom read that to us in 4th grade.
Was it 4th grade? Okay.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that book. And if I could find books like that, that's how I learned to read more. First few pages, if I couldn't get into it, I was done. I wouldn't read it. I was an average student. I was a BC student, but I just felt I worked so hard all the way through high school to just be an average student. And, it's like, well, you're being lazy or you're not working hard enough, or those type of things that, you back then, it wasn't recognized. Like I'm so glad it is now for my grandchildren.
Yeah, I didn't know until my kids were diagnosed, and I learned what they had to go through. And I'm thinking, wow, I was the exact same way when I was learning, and I did the exact same things that they did, but I never got help for it in school because it still wasn't
recognized,
talked about. Yeah, back then. So I had no idea. I just thought I wasn't as smart as everyone, and I didn't understand things and I didn't get it, but I didn't think there was anything else going on until I had my kids both be diagnosed with dyslexia. And I was like, wow. So I maybe could have had help, but didn't know about it or didn't tell anyone.
Well, was that something, Carolyn, that we talked about with Caitlin, that you tried to get help for her at her school?
I think with Caitlin and John, I think actually think John is dyslexic too. With them, it was they quickly adapted and figured out ways to just to learn and just do it their way, kind of thing, where they did okay. They did all right in school. And so it wasn't more of a push until the younger two. It was, wait, there's something, the ADHD, yes, that with the younger two, definitely ADHD, which there may have been some dyslexia in there as well, but that wasn't necessarily tested because they said, well, go to your doctor for ADHD. The resources, the funding were not there. And so it was, well, they need to go to tutoring, or they need to go to these group tutorings and stuff. And so that's what we did. But by the time the other two came along, went, no, that doesn't work for them. We're going to do what works for them. And that's my big thing too, is I wish I had advocated more for my kids when they were in school. And that's what I was telling Caitlin. It's like, don't take no for an answer. You advocate for your child. If you think there's something not right there, you do what it takes to help your child so they don't struggle and feel self-conscious and feel bad about themselves when it's not their fault. And that's the thing where, Caitlin, they actually moved to a different district to get the help that her kids needed because the district she was in didn't have the resources at the time. I've seen a lot of changes within the last few years as far as diagnosing it, the resources, the hiring more, diags to test children and what they're looking for, and the trainings that you and Melissa are doing. Definitely, we see such a huge difference.
So one thing I know about y'all's family is that y'all are super athletic. Growing up, I always felt kind of like a big slug next to y'all because I couldn't even kick a ball. So y'all talk about what you did excel in.
Well, first I excelled in sports, and that's why my favorite subject in school was PE, because that's where I excelled, was in athletics and playing sports. And then as I got older, music was my outlet. But I think that helped with using that side of the brain as well, from my understanding, to be involved in music and having to learn these things and reading music. Those were my safe places to go, was music and sports.
Caitlin, I think I know Caitlin's answer, but I'll let Caitlin answer it.
Well, mine was sports. So for me, I loved soccer. All I wanted to do was play soccer. And school was the last on my mind. I just wanted to go play, go run, go play, anything. So I would use soccer, though. As I got older, I used soccer to help me. And it was kind of a motivation because they started the no pass, no play rule. And, as much as I would want to give up at school because I just didn't understand it or it was hard, I had to focus. I had to worry about school or else I wasn't going to get to play. And I passed it on down to one of my children. So.
Oh, okay. So Leah, you've got a soccer bug too? Yeah. What position do you play? Because I don't know. Are there positions in soccer? Did I make that up?
Probably like center mid.
And Caitlin, if I recall, didn't you have scholarships because of your soccer?
Yes. Yeah. I went to Central Oklahoma on a soccer scholarship. And like I said, I think that was the motivation because you had to get a certain SAT score, ACT score. And it was like, if you don't get this score, you're not getting into to play soccer, instead of looking at it as, if you don't get this score, you're not going to get more knowledge and get more education and go learn more. So I tried to instill more school and academics to my kids because that wasn't a focus for me, but it is important because I didn't continue with soccer. I ended up not doing it. So I try to teach my kids, yes, sports are good. They, get your mind off things, teaches discipline, but you also have to worry about school. And we go, we have motivational talks because both my kids are dyslexic, and especially my son, he's very hard on himself, and I'm trying to get him to understand that you learn differently. You're not dumb, you're not stupid, you're just learning differently. So we're all learning together, which is helpful.
Yeah, no. And I think what y'all are describing with athletics and music and all of that, I think that helps to illustrate that when you're dyslexic, it doesn't have anything to do with your intelligence. Typically, our dyslexics are average to above average in intelligence. Their strength lies in other places. And it's good to develop those interests and strengths because there is a ripple effect into academics. When you feel good about yourself, it'll fall into some of those academic areas as well. So I think that's an important thing that y'all are discussing. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Hi, this is Melissa with Kids First Dyslexia Services. I am excited to share with you my private practice. Kids First Dyslexia Services is a private practice that specializes in dyslexia therapy. Each one-on-one session focuses on instruction specific to your child's needs in a nurturing environment that develops self-esteem, builds confidence, and fosters a sense of accomplishment, resulting in happier kids with higher levels of achievement. We provide a professional, personalized experience, always putting the child first. We value the relationships with both our students and parents because strengthening skills and overcoming hurdles to achieve desired goals and success is a team effort. For more information, please visit kidsfirstdyslexia.com. That is kidsfirstdyslexia.com.
Hi there. This is Amy Rodenroth, owner of Discovery Dyslexia Services. So tell me if any of these situations are familiar to you. Your dyslexia teacher / therapist has suddenly retired unexpectedly, and you do not have the personnel to fill the space. Or you do not have enough trained teachers or therapists for the number of students who have qualified for dyslexia services, and you need a trained teacher or therapist quickly, like yesterday, quickly. Or you need a teacher to provide compensatory services, and you do not have anyone that can provide what's needed. Well, what do you do? I'm going to tell you what you can do. You can call Discovery Dyslexia Services. Discovery Dyslexia Services can help you with your various dyslexia concerns. We have multiple counts who can provide virtual small group therapy. We can also train your teachers in most dyslexia curricula, either virtually or on site. Just let us know how we can help support you. For more information, go to our website at www.discovereed.com. Let me spell that for you. DYSCOVEREAD.com. And I know it's a funny name, but we're providing huge services for our dyslexic population. So keep in mind, Discovery Dyslexia Services, covering all your dyslexia needs. Let's return to the show.
So I was going to try to ask you a little bit more, Caitlin, about when you talked about school and how it was challenging and trying to get the scholarships or get to the point where you could play soccer. Did you have any kind of strategy that you used to try to increase your abilities in school? Or I know they didn't provide you assistance so much back in those times, I guess, but what did you do?
Yeah. So what I would have to do is, for me, I'm a visual learner. So if a teacher just explains something out loud or gives instructions out loud, I'll try to memorize everything. And then I'll sit there and I'll be like, I have no idea what they just asked me to do. So I would have to write down everything. And I started collecting notebooks and pens, and I would just have to write everything out over and over until I could memorize it. I had to do a lot more work at home because I was very distracted at school. Someone would say something, I'd look over, or a pen would drop. And once I lost that concentration, I didn't remember what just happened. So in school, I just tried to take so many notes. And then I would go home, I would highlight my book. I would try to just memorize as much as I could. And I did have my dad help me a lot. My stepdad would sit with me, and he loved the sports too. So he was like, we got to pass. But he would also help me and explain it to me more one-on-one with someone I was comfortable with. And he understood that you have to slow down for me because you can't say the whole thing and then expect me to know what just happened. So he would take his time with me and show me, okay, this is why you're getting this answer. And I spent a lot of hours at home when I wasn't at sport. I try to memorize a lot. At school, I didn't really ask questions with my teachers. I didn't want to look like the dumb one in class and people be like, why are you, making fun of me because I'm asking a simple question, but I didn't get it. I didn't understand. So I never asked questions, but I would ask my dad, and because I felt comfortable, I knew he wouldn't make fun of me, or, he would answer. And even if it was a simple answer or a simple question, he would still answer it. And I do wish I would have asked more questions and try to get more help, but I didn't. I was too embarrassed.
Well, and I think that's the educator's responsibility to catch the kids, all the kids, where they are and find where their weaknesses are and help them step in wherever they need to step in and help them along the way. And then I guess I would like to piggyback and ask Leah the same thing. Leah, do you feel like your teachers are helping you? What do you do that helps you in your classroom with overcoming your dyslexia?
I feel like my teachers do help me, like especially with all the accommodations and stuff to help like myself in the classroom. I just try to pay attention more whenever the teacher like gives instructions.
Well, I was going to say, I think it's really interesting listening to Carolyn's story and Caitlin's story and Leah's story, the levels of understanding and knowledge through time. We go from Carolyn, who our people had little to no understanding of dyslexia. Caitlin, it was out there, but not quite sure how we were going to support, where Leah has not only finished a curriculum, but she's receiving accommodations in her class setting now. And I think it's really, and y'all all kind of compensated in different ways. And it's so interesting, especially Caitlin, when I hear you say that you're taking notes over and over and over again. That is a common thing that I hear most adult dyslexics do, is they take notes and they take notes of their notes and they take notes of their notes and they take notes of their notes. And so it goes from that short term to long term so that they can access it when they need to. I think that was really, really interesting.
It's funny. That's the same thing I did. And I'm trying to remember thinking of it. Was it something Caitlin, I don't remember if it was something Caitlin and I talked about, just write it again. Like, well, we would do the spelling words, just write it over and over and over again and practice. And then she compensated by writing, her notes over and over again. And I was talking to my older son that I think he was dyslexic too. We talked about how he hated to read. I hate to hear that now because I love to see children reading and loving books, because that's just such a huge way for them to learn from the beginning, even as infants, and learning speech and just enjoying books. He had said, that he figured out, he didn't say how, but he said, I just kind of figured out my own way of doing things. And he didn't elaborate, but he's a guy. He doesn't really like talking about it, but he said, I figured out my own way of doing it, is how he put it.
So many of our adult dyslexics, even if they go through a dyslexia curriculum, a lot of my students are in their 30s now, right? And so they can decode and they can read. It may not be as fast as they would like it to be, not as fluent as they want it to be. But where you really still see the dyslexia kind of pop up is in their writing, right? That difficulty with spelling, that difficulty with punctuation and capitalization and forming well thought out sentences, right? That's where I see a lot of that still occurring. So Carolyn, who was the person in your life that kind of inspired you to keep going, excel at school? I know your dad had a big hand in it, and he would be so happy to hear that, I think.
My dad did. He really tried to help us with homework. It took him 20 years to get through college, to get his college degree, but he would coach our games and help us with homework and work full time. And then he'd go at night to school to finish his degree, which, that was very inspiring. But teacher wise, I would have to say my first and fourth grade teacher, they was the same person, and it was your mom. She was very patient and she was very encouraging. She never said, "Oh, I just don't know why you can't get this." She was very, you know what, you're going to get it. You're okay. Just very reassuring, and always made me feel like I can do it. I can do it. Mrs. Mooney was very patient, very encouraging. She never made me feel like other teachers kind of did, that I was not trying. She would always just say, I know you're going to get it. You're going to get it. You're going to be okay. So I'd always kind of think back on how I felt in her classroom when I was struggling in others. I would think back to how reassuring she was.
Yeah. She was a good teacher. That's for sure.
She,
Yeah. And Caitlin, what say you? Who is the person that inspired you most in your life?
I would say my parents. I didn't really go to my teachers. I don't think I really had a teacher that was very understanding. Not that they were mean. I didn't feel comfortable, going to other people and saying I need help or I'm struggling, which I still can't do, but I'm working on it. But I would say my parents, because I would feel comfortable telling them I can't do it or I don't understand. And they're like, just keep trying, don't give up. You're smart. You understand. That helped me a lot. And sports motivated me, which I know is probably not the best, but
no, that's awesome.
In order for
you need something. Yeah.
In order for me to, go to college, I had to learn. I had to figure out how I was going to get these answers right, get good grades, pass my SAT and get a scholarship. And it did motivate me because I wanted to play soccer. And so I would say soccer and my parents.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, Leah, you're up. What do you think? Who do you think in your life motivates you as a teacher, relative, parents?
I would say my dyslexia teacher in 5th grade.
So why did she inspire you, Leah?
She just made me feel like it's okay that I learn slower than other people.
She has, my son is in her class for dyslexia too. And she's very encouraging. I've noticed a change in, with my son, he's more positive. And every time I see her, Leah is so sweet. I just love her. And I think that also helps both of them feel comfortable struggling and having challenging times with a teacher like that they can go to and feel comfortable with. So we love her.
That's awesome. I'm glad everybody had somebody not only in their school setting, but in their personal life, because not all of our people identified with dyslexia have both, or one or the other or both, like that, which is kind of awesome.
It just tells how important relationships are to build the trust with the student, to build the trust with the family member, so that you guys can all feel successful and build each other up. Relationships are key and important.
This concludes part 1 of our interview with the Christ family, a family that has multi-generational dyslexia. Next week, we will post part 2, so stay tuned to the Dyslexia Duo. The Dyslexia Duo podcast hosts are Amy Rodenroth,
Melissa Dean.
Our producer is Greg Rodenroth.
You can find us on Facebook at the Dyslexia Duo.
Email us any questions or comments at thedyslexiaduo@gmail.com.
Awareness is so important. Share this podcast with your friends,
family,
and teachers.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.